Fields of Mistria is a beautiful mix of Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, and Moonstone Island, all of my favorite games. So it's safe to say that of course I had a fantastic time. Did that dragon just turn into a person? You guys, I can put my hats on animals. This is the best day ever. My dog is pink and I call them Dingle Bob. If you would like to see me play more of Fields of Mistria in the future, then be sure to like the video and to subscribe to the channel so I know. And without further ado, this one is going to be a doozy, my friends, so let's get into it. Immediately, we are thrown into the world of Fields of Mistria. We get to watch two characters by the names of Eland and Adeline come up with a plan to rebuild their town. Well, you see, a big nasty earthquake had shaken their little town to pieces, and they needed someone big, strong, and handsome to come to the rescue. Did they mention I had to be handsome? No, but let's just move on, shall we? I then made my character with that classic Poxial looking charm, and out I emerged in Mistria. The first soul I came across on my way into town was a man named Balor. He mentioned the plan for me to help Mistria reclaim its lost valor, which I know of because I'm big, strong, and handsome. He helped me get across the busted bridge, and we met up with Eland on what was supposed to be my new farm. Adeline quickly finished up with the interior of my farmhouse, and wow, I love what she's done with the place. Although it was getting late, so I decided to get some rest. Waking up on my first day in the town of Mistria, I was greeted by a woman named Celine. She was kind enough to give me an old hoe and 3 tulip seeds. I can't rebuild this town on nothing, so that was much appreciated. And then we heard the sound of hooves. Oh my god, who's this geezer? That geezer was in fact a man named Hayden. He told me he runs Sweetwater Farm just to the east of here. He was also kind enough to give me a spare watering can. While I'm planting my seeds down, I should mention that I named the farm Binglebong Farm, simply because I thought it was a great use of free will. I then found the map in my journal where I started to get a lay of the land. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So you got the town to the north. West you've obviously got Hayden's farm. And that looks like a summit. Interesting. This game is very Stardew Valley-esque. Okay, looks like somewhat of a beach. That's kind of cool. To be fair, that's a pretty huge map, I'm not gonna lie. After some map scouting, I bravely ventured into town for the first time. I met up with Adeline, who took me through the basics of getting the town up and running again. I was introduced to the requests board, where I can accept requests from the townsfolk of Mistria. Completing tasks in this game gets us renown. The more renown levels we get, the higher the town rank will be. The higher the rank, the bigger and better our little town will be. My first request from the board was from Adeline herself, and it was to meet the rest of the townsfolk. So without wasting any time, that's what I was going to go and do. I am pleased to meet you too. God. Dad joke's already coming out. Ooh, head of the Chamber of Commerce. The Sleeping Dragon Inn. That's a great name for an inn. Hemlock, there he is. Josephine. Oh, Serena. Okay. Serena's one of the daughters. Who's this geezer? Rice. Carpenter's shop. Okay, good to know. Got a carpenter. Ulrich. So I assume this is the brother. March. The bathhouse. Juniper. Oh my god, it's a little puppy. Dozy. Oh, stop it. What a good looking boy. The clinic. Valen. Maple. Luke and Dell. The museum. Errol. Aiden Shop. Farm supplies. Cute. Oh my god, he has a pet chicken. Henrietta. Iconic. Ooh, who's that? Elise. Oh, Elsie, sorry. It's Rice. And Landon. Crafting stations, furniture recipes, farm buildings, and home upgrades. Nice. Terithia. That's a fantastic name. After a long day of first impressions and simple pleasantries, my social battery was running on critical, so I made it back to my bed that night for some much needed R&R. As I woke up on my second day in Mistria, I walked outside to the sound of banging. No, that's not someone knocking on your door, it's just Elon trying to cut down a tree. He just had to mention that he was the head of the Historical Society in Mistria. A weird flex, but okay. I decided to offer my big, strong, handsome muscles for a second to remove the tree for him. There wasn't much behind it, just a big statue depicting a dragon statue of Calderus, a mythological guardian of Mistria that Mistria's ancestors used to worship. Yeah, like I said, nothing too important. Anyway, after watering my flowers, I headed into town where I turned in the quest from yesterday to Adeline, and I received my first bunch of renown, 3 potato seeds, and 100 tesserae. Tesserae is the currency, by the way. It took me a while to realize that, so I thought I would save you the trouble. You could say I've always been a little bit nosy. I just had to see how Elend, Adeline, and their auntie were living. And, well, good lord, these people are living in luxury. Look at that piano. You know, I have a plan to help save the town, and it involves a major downsizing for 3 certain people. But alas, I can't force them to sell and downgrade. We'd have to do it their way, unfortunately. That way was the board, and the board had 2 more requests for me. Wood for Landon and a chat with Ulrich. After much strife trying to decipher what little face on the map belonged to who, I managed to finally find and chat with Ulrich. He mentioned talking to Errol, the museum curator, about getting the mines back up and running, and he gave me a pickaxe free of charge. What a nice guy. Into the afternoon the day went, and I got my 10 wood from chopping trees and logs down on the farm. Once again, being new to town made it extremely difficult to figure out where the person I was looking for was on the map. Eventually, I worked out Landon was located to the east of town in the carpenter's workshop, and he got the 10 wood that he had inquired about. I then headed to the opposite side of Mistria, where I stumbled across the museum. Errol, of course, was there to greet me. He explained how the museum worked. Basically, I can donate any fish, flora, artifacts, and insects I find to the museum. And when I complete a set, for example, the spring crop set, I get a reward. Not a bad way to keep me occupied for the next 98 days, that's for sure. I ate away at the rest of the day just exploring Mistria, picking up any forage I found, and making my first donations to the museum that night. I must say, a very productive second day. Remember that not so important dragon statue of that so-called Calderus? Well, it's talking to me in my sleep now, so that's fun. Calderus bestowed upon me the ability to sense and collect essence. Essentially, daily tasks will earn me essence, and that essence I can use at Calderus's statue to purchase skill points. And with that, he was gone. Oh, and I got my first renown levels. Gosh, look at us go. The first thing I did this morning was check my mailbox. Good thing I did, because I had a letter from Adeline about repairing that bridge I had to hop across to even get here. So after I watered all 9 tiles of crops, it's been a slow start, don't come at me, I headed in that direction. I stopped by the request board to collect the rewards I'd received from my level ups. This included some cash money in my pocket and some cosmetic items. I found the bridge repair team, believe it or not, right by the bridge. Go figure. This included Nora, Adeline, Balor, and Reese. My task was to supply the supplies, as it were. 60 stone and 60 wood. That's rookie numbers. And I'll clear up the farm at the same time. Rookie numbers indeed. But I had to walk the walk if I didn't want to look like a douchebag in front of people I met 2 days ago. Back on the farm is where I collected all 60 of the wood I needed. However, I had inhaled the 1 vegetable soup I was given to get that wood, and it was out of my budget at the moment to buy another from the inn. So instead I got my first skill perk, a day well spent, which gives me an energy boost for the following day if I go to sleep with 0 energy. And well, with no energy left, I went to bed. It's raining on Binglebong Farm. I do, look, I'm not using any energy. I'm so smart. That was such a big brain play. That was indeed a big brain play, Pox. The little bit of extra energy allowed me to collect more stone. Ironically, I did need to stop off at the inn to get a small meal to push me over the line, but I'm happy to say that I got all 60 stone. I dumped that and the wood into the donation box, and I reported back to Adeline about my hard work. The bridge repair team assembled shortly after, and we let Reese loose on the bridge. In a matter of a simple fade out and fade in, Reese had managed to use the materials to fix the bridge, and what a sturdy looking bridge it was. The perk of fixing this particular bridge was that the Saturday market vendors can now return to Mistria every week and peddle their goods and services. And with that, my first section of rebuilding Mistria was complete. I used up the rest of the day with requests from the board, and I got the prepared picker perk, which will sometimes drop a seed version of a picked forage. As for those requests, one was for little Luke. He gave me a bug net and told me to go out there and get my bug catching on, which for you, Luke, I will happily oblige. The other was to bring Ulrich a rock. Why? No idea, but I won't argue. Now that I have the net, I've seen bugs all the time, but now that I have the net, they're probably not going to be anywhere. Ooh. A ladybug. Never mind, as I said that, I catch one. What's that? A snail. Oh, so snails don't count. Interesting. It was then that I realized not everything I grow, catch, snag, or dig up will go to the museum, but some will, and you'll know that when you hover over the item and see if the little box has a tick in it or not. Hey, the more you know, am I right? As I woke up on day 5, I found a letter from Reii about Friday nights at the inn. She mentioned that everyone in town attends and that I should go along, which is so nice. It would be a real shame if I forgot. Oh my god. My turnips are ready. Jeez, Pox, don't sound too excited. One of the turnips I hauled to the museum along with a tulip I'd found, and on the way I caught myself a grasshopper. Those 3 things I quickly donated before collecting some level up rewards beside the board, and accepting a couple more requests. One was to give Errol some wild berries, which I had on me, so that was ideal. The other was to get Juniper a sprig of lilac, so I did some exploring, collected some forage along the way, donated said forage, did even more exploring, but I just couldn't find the lilac I was looking for. But big, strong, handsome guys sometimes have to admit when they're defeated, and today was one of those days. I figured I'd find it another day. It was a busy start to day 6. I had crops to water and 3 letters to read from my adoring fans. Nora wanted me to introduce myself to the Saturday market vendors. Adeline wanted me to meet her at the manor house to talk about restocking Mistria's food reserves, and Elin wanted me to meet him and Errol at the museum to discuss reopening the mines. So one at a time I ticked these off. The Saturday market was the first place to go. The townsfolk had gathered in the square to shop until they dropped on hairstyles, food, fashion and furniture, and Nora was grateful I'd introduced myself to them. Next on the agenda was to meet with Adeline about the food reserves. Valen was also a part of this discussion. We came to the agreement that 10 crops would be enough to refill the emergency stockpile. Could you imagine a scenario where the town runs out of food and there are only 10 crops to share between about 24 people? I would hate to think. Anyway, I doubtfully obliged and got them planted down on the farm. You'll also notice that I found the zoom out button for the HUD and gameplay. I think that's much better. While on the farm, I purchased the refreshing perk, which will sometimes give me stamina back when watering crops. I will happily add that to my list of skills. Last but not least on my agenda today was to pay a visit to the museum. Errol was a bit hesitant on reopening the mines. Eland and I, on the other hand, wanted them open now. So we met halfway and agreed that if we could get the town rank to at least the Stone Star rank, then he would let us in. With that goal in mind, I spent the rest of the day mooching around. I paid a visit to Hayden's farm. Oh my god, you can buy hats for your animals. That is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I finally found a lilac. I donated some stuff to the museum, and then Juniper used the lilac she requested at the bathhouse to make a potion. The only thing is that potion did some hefty damage. I'd like to think that wasn't what she was intending to do. Luckily, she let me use the bathhouse to replenish my energy and gave me 5 free uses, as she bloody well should. I then did some more exploring. I found a daffodil, which just so happened to be the last spring flower I needed to donate. I was compensated in the form of a treasure chest full of goodies. Down at the beach, I purchased myself a fishing rod from Terithia's shop. Oh, and I figured out I can swim as much as I like, wherever I like. I can even explore these dive spots to get fishy themed treasures. Now that is very cool. The rain was pouring down the following day. To say sorry for yesterday, Juniper had sent me a crystal weather ball. She wrote that I might find it useful if I could figure out what it did. Oh, come on, Juniper, that is so obvious. Clearly, it tells you when Concerned Ape is going to be dropping Haunted Chocolatier, right? Which is soon, right? Right? Please tell me it's soon. Thanks to the downpour, I could concentrate all of my energy into fishing today. So that's exactly what I did. I did a little bit in the ocean and a little bit in the rivers around Mistria later on. I swear, give this man a fishing rod in any game and, well, I'm gone. But if one is in doubt, one must fish it out. So a wise man once said. That was me, I said that. Oh. Do I get a pet? Oh my god, there's so many options. A pink dog? I'm getting a pink dog. I'll call the dog Dinglebob. Yay! Dinglebob. Oh my god, I have a pink dog. That's so iconic. I'm in love. Just like magic, Dinglebob was a part of my humble farm life. He even opened up the door and let himself inside. An independent king. Oh my god, I can carry my dog. I can carry my dog. I can carry my dog. Oh my god. This is game of the year. Oh, I love it. Dinglebob was certainly a welcome addition to my farm. He'd already stolen my heart, clearly. I filled the morning picking potatoes and fishing around Mistria for more fish to donate. Speaking of, that afternoon I got to donate a couple along with a potato, so there you go. I followed that up with a trip to the general store where I bought some crop seeds and tree saplings, which I of course planted back on the farm shortly after. I then tried catching a tree sapling with a bug net. Yeah, look, that wasn't my finest moment, and I went back to the trusty art of fishing for the rest of the night. On the way home, I saw this bug that I definitely hadn't caught yet, so I left the area to go get some energy because I was all out of juice. I ate a berry, I made my way back, and hey, it was gone. Let's move on to the next day, shall we? We got ranked town... Hello? Town rank stone. The town rank up overnight seemed to have rendered me speechless. It was very exciting after all. In my mailbox this morning was a baked potato recipe, a letter from Errol about reopening the mines, and a thank you letter from Adeline for the town rank up with a copper bar included as a reward. A new part of gaining a new town rank up is the stamina potion. What's this? Wow. I don't know what that did. I'm not very perceptive, am I? For those of you watching at home, or on the bus, or I don't know where you are right now, you'll notice that I did in fact increase my maximum energy. So there you go. I took some time today to do some more river fishing. I did in fact accidentally trigger the cutscene with Errol and Eland, where they opened up the mines for me. Inside was another statue of Calderus. This one had the mining and combat skills attached to it, which I'm sure will come in handy later on. I decided to wait for a fresh day to start exploring the mines. Instead, I went back to fishing. In between casts, I handed over a caterpillar to Hemlock. For Luke. No surprises there. Unfortunately, I did not find the last river fish I needed for the museum, but I did get some good cash for all the ones I sold off that night. And a quick look at the summary page helped me to realize that it's not only quests that give me renown. Items sold and museum donations also give a little, which is fantastic to know. The rain had subsided by day 10. This did mean that I had to water the crops myself. Luckily, there aren't too many to water, and I don't know whether to be relieved or upset about that. Either way, with some cash in my pocket now, I was able to get myself an inventory upgrade from the general store this morning, and it just may be the best thing I've purchased so far. Oh yes, now I can tab and switch them. Oh, that's so good. That is so good, yeah. That is so good. So good that apparently I turned English. While in town, I found Ulrich to give him a birthday gift. It was just some random flower I'd found, but hey, he seemed to like it. Today, I thought would be best spent exploring the mines for the first time, so that's exactly what I did. Oh my god, I'm out of energy. Well, that didn't last long. Energy and the lack thereof was certainly becoming a problem for me. The only thing I could do was spend skill points. To Calderus I went, and I got the green thumb perk. Planting a seed may also water that tile, and the appealing reeling perk for fishing. Fish will be attracted to my bobber from a greater distance. And there wasn't much else to do with no energy, so I just called it an early night. Since the rain was so kindly watering my crops for me on day 11, I decided to use that extra energy for another attempt at the mines. Well, would you look at that? As ineffective as those berries are at giving me energy, I still managed to make it down to level 5, securing us an elevator level. I'll be honest, that's about all I did today. When I re-entered the world the following morning, my potatoes were ready for harvest. I needed to ship them all for Adeline's food reserve quest, so into the shipping bin they went. I then popped by the museum to drop off a couple of donations from my mine excursion yesterday, before circling into town where I hunted down Reii. I just needed to give him 10 pieces of wood. In return, both him and Landon gave me a quick rundown of the crafting system. In similar fashion, I gave March, Ulrich's brother, some copper ore, and he reluctantly gave me the rundown on blacksmithing. You know, they only said they let big, strong, handsome men work the anvil. It's true, I'm not even making that up. Using my newfound skill, I took some copper ore to the anvil and made myself some copper bars. Why? Well, because I like money. I stuck around town that night to partake in some quality jibber jabber at the Sleeping Dragon Inn. Considering I forgot to go last week, I'm glad they let me in. It was nice though. I paid a visit to the requests board this morning to accept some more assignments. I got to give Elin some wild berries, made easier by the fact I already had 50 of them on me. The other task was to meet Josephine at the inn for some cooking lessons. We were joined by Celine, Balor, Raina, and March, and we all made ourselves some veggie soup, and I learned to use the inn kitchen for my own cooking if I so wished to dabble in culinary greatness. I then explored Mistria in hopes of finding more spring forage to donate to the museum. Ironically, I returned later with no forage, but 3 more spring bugs. So hey, I can't complain. The rain this morning was no hindrance for Celine. She popped by Binglebong Farm to let me know of the upcoming spring festival. She mentioned the Breath of Spring Flower Collection competition. There's a prize for the person who gathers the most, and the more I collect, the better the festival will be. Once Celine had left, I took off and spent most of the day fishing. I learned today that I can scare the fish away if I get too close while swimming, and that I can't jump on these rocks in the ocean. Which is annoying. I want to be able to like jump up on these and like catch some fish, but no. You can't do that. Maybe not, but at least I got to donate a few fish to the museum later that night. The requests board on day 15 presented a quest from Juniper to find water chestnuts. Yeah, but I got distracted with a stone chest I received from a renowned level up reward last night. In fact, all thoughts of water chestnuts were thrown out the window. Copper was on the forefront of my mind today because I was after a pickaxe upgrade, so the mine is where I spent the rest of the day. I managed to collect quite a bit of copper, and not only that, but some new mine-themed forage, and not to mention bugs too. It felt good donating it all to the museum on my way back home that evening, and before getting some much-needed rest, I spent 10 skill points on a blacksmith perk called Time Sensitive. This reduces the craft time of all blacksmithing recipes by 10 minutes. By day 16, I only had 2 crops to water. It's a sad sight, I know. I didn't dwell on the fact for too long because I had to give March a birthday present. I reckon March would like a ruby because he's a blacksmith, you know? And I feel like blacksmiths have a real love for things, big shiny things from the mines. He liked it. Yes. You know, I never doubt my intuition. However, the one time I did, I ended up with a big dookie in my pants when I was like 7. I learned a lot that day. Anyway, I turned in the crop request to Adeline, which she was very thankful for. She gave me 10 turnips to plant down, so on the farm they went. The rest of the day, I ended up searching again for water chestnuts. And again, I came up empty-handed, except for a single fish I caught in the pond. I got to donate that, so I'll take the win. Celine was back this morning. She was back collecting everyone's breath of spring flowers we'd been collecting over the last few days. Before I could head into town, my strawberry and cabbage had grown, which I then turned into the museum, leaving me with only one more crop to donate. Over in the town square, Josephine was hosting the Breath of Spring Flower Collection competition. It really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? In third place this year and taking home the bronze was none other than your boy Poxial. You know, I'll happily take third. In second place was Errol, and in first place was Celine. You mean the person who collected everyone else's flowers? That seems a bit suspect. How can we be sure she didn't take from our stashes of flowers? I would have demanded a recount there and then, but I remembered I had things to do, such as handing a morale to Valen, donating the same to the museum, and gathering copper ore from the mine. Biome-specific ore sometimes drop from breaking rocks in the mines. Oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that one. I said good morning to Dingle Bob, watered my little patch of crops, and popped down my prize flowers I won yesterday, all before 8 AM this morning. Now that's what I call efficient. I was wandering through the Narrows when I noticed something in the river. Whoa, some big looking fish. A paddlefish. Oh my god, that's the final river fish. That was lucky. Yay! With another donation set ticked off, I celebrated by whacking a big heavy hammer on a hot anvil to make copper bars. I then whacked the big heavy hammer on those copper bars to craft a copper pickaxe. And the copper pickaxe I took to the mines, and my god, was it a welcome upgrade. Ow. 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 I might need to ask for a cranial upgrade after witnessing that one. On the way out later on, I purchased the Treasure Hunter perk. Treasure floors now have a chance to appear in the mines. During that excursion yesterday, I had acquired a single piece of clay. Luckily, I had someone to give it to, and that person was Nora. Enjoy those art supplies, and I'll enjoy some more renown. Earlier that morning, I'd received a letter from Adeline with our next town project. So I met with her, Reese, and Hayden at the manor to discuss this further. Turns out they were wanting to repair the broken down mill in town. Of course I said I would help. That's literally the only reason why I'm here in the first place. To finish the mill would involve me donating 200 stone, 150 wood, 2 copper ingots, and 1,000 tesserae. The stone and copper I actually already had on me, so all that was left was to fetch the wood. And I spent the rest of the day and most of day 20 collecting all 150 of it. Not to mention my cherry tree gave me the last spring crop I needed to donate to the museum. How good. Once the wood was collected, I dropped it off to the donation box in town and found Adeline to tell her of the good news. Reese and his youthful energy used the materials to fix that bad boy right up all good as new. And the town now had a working mill. The new types of products I could make with the mill included animal feed, animal products, and milled ingredients, which I have no doubt will come in handy later on. To round out the day, I gave Elsie some berries for a request board quest. I fished in the ponds to the west of town and donated 2 more fish to the spring pond fish collection. Right out of the gate on day 21, I spent some skill points at the Calderus statue. I got the perks Weedline Watcher, which reduces the amount of trash I catch while fishing, Copper Expert, which reduces the amount of ore needed to craft ingots by 1, and Forager, which will sometimes drop seasonal forage when I chop down a tree. Today was also someone's special day. I surprised Luke with a special birthday bumblebee. In hindsight, maybe that's not the safest gift. I just thought he'd like it because he loves bugs. And I was right. I always am. Afterwards, I popped by Hayden's farm. He'd sent me a letter this morning requesting I visit for tea and biscuits. And hey, who's to say no to that? In the company of his prize hen, Henrietta, he took me through the basics of farming, raising animals, and how to look after them. As soon as I have enough money to do all all of that, I will take all of that advice. And to get some extra cash in my pocket, I thought it would be best to spend the rest of the day fishing. I fished all over Mistria, and of course some donations came with that. In fact, I did the same on day 22. I finished the spring ocean set in the museum on top of that, and I fished to my heart's content all day long. The ocean fish wasn't the only set I finished today, because as the day was coming to an end, so did the spring pond fish set. Yay, I got some lemons and some strawberries and some cherries. I kept one of those lemons for Adeline. She had requested one a few days ago. Fortunately, my tree had finally grown some for me. Speaking of Adeline, I found her in Eland outside the manor. I'd agreed to help them beautify Mistria without the help of the townsfolk. Adeline was intent on them being too busy to bother them. Then, just like the Disney trademark slow clap we see in every film from the 2000s, the townfolk began to help us out one by one. Eventually, half the town was helping, and we had some leftover stone that March and Reese used to fix a staircase up to the summit. And what a view it was from up here. I think Stardew Valley has really ingrained it in my mind that a quote-unquote summit should only be accessed after reaching perfection, so it felt a little weird for me to be up here, but it was a very cute bonding moment for the people of Mistria. I then excused myself to the mines for the remainder of the day. I was lucky enough to catch a treasure floor on floor 9, meaning I had just enough energy to hit level 10, another elevator floor. I did hear some voices when I got there. I'm sure they're fine. Right? A spell? Hell yeah. Full restore. Casting it will fully restore your health and stamina. Oh my god, that's huge. Your mana will restore bit by bit each night after a spell has been cast. Use it wisely. Waiting in my letterbox this morning was a recipe for candied strawberries. Ooh, yum. Yum indeed, Pox. Yum indeed. I also purchased some more skills from the Caldera statue. The remaining fishing skills, Catch of the Day and Aquatic Antiques. Catching a fish will sometimes refund the stamina used to catch it, and I can now catch artifacts. And the perk Fortified Blacksmithing. Crafting armor will occasionally result in a bonus Fortified Infusion, which grants you an additional 4 HP when worn. I spent a lot of time today back in the mines, attempting to make it down another 5 levels. However, the lack of food to give me energy meant I didn't get far. I didn't walk away empty-handed, however. I got the well-armed perk. Biome unique armor and weapons will sometimes drop from treasure chests. And I donated 2 bugs and a piece of forage I found while scavenging to the museum. And this completed the Upper Mines forage set too. On the way home, I popped by Balor's cart and he was selling water chestnuts. Considering I hadn't found them yet, I grabbed a bunch of them. I gave a couple to Juniper for a quest, and the rest I took home with me. Ooh, what's our town rank now? Copper! Woohoo! For reaching a brand new town rank, I got a strawberry shortcake in the mail from Adeline. I'm surprised it wasn't squished when I pulled it out. And a stamina capsule from the reward chest in town. Since I was there, I grabbed a request to get Elisa Snowdrop an enemy flower. Luckily, my big brain knew exactly where to find one. It was hiding away on the far west side of the island, just above the dig site. On my way back, my eye caught onto something in the river, and you won't believe what I found. Oh, is that where water chestnuts are? Oh my god. How have I missed that? I've been complaining about not being able to find them for so long. There you have it, folks. It took me 25 days, but I finally realized the obvious looking plants in the water were actually something I could interact with. And a day after I bought some nonetheless. A dip in the sea was in order after this. I went after dive spots because I needed seaweed. I found none, but to my delight, Torithia sells some at her shop. I needed to make a bag of ultimate small animal feed at the mill. I found Elsie and gave her the flour. Then I ran into Hayden at the inn where I handed him the bag of feed. And that was another 2 fetch quests ticked off my list. The last task today was blacksmithing some copper ore into bars at the anvil. The bars I used to make a brand new copper axe, which is going to make wood collecting just a little bit less tedious. After shipping some crops that had grown the following morning, I headed into town where I met with Adeline, Holt, and Nora in the general store. Adeline was discussing the possibility possibility of upgrading the general store. Who would have thought it'd be up to me to not only get the materials but to supply the funds as well. It's okay, I was getting used to it now. I was tasked to source 500 stone, 300 wood, 5 copper ingots, 5 iron ingots, and 3,000 tesserae. Obviously, I didn't quite have access to iron yet, so to the mines I went. Passing out last night did unfortunately mean I was late to waking up this morning, so I wasted no time getting right to it. I purchased some more skills. Hammer timing reduces crafting times by 10 minutes. Lumberjack, breaking a branch will sometimes drop an extra piece of wood. And masonry, the same thing but for stone. I then swung a big hammer on the hot anvil again, and this time I made myself a shovel, which should allow me to start digging up artifact spots. And while the Saturday markets were on, I found Elin to tell him about the water seal I'd found yesterday. Elin explained to me that the seal was written in witch speak, so we sought out the only person witchy enough to possibly understand what the seal says. The woman who almost killed me with her potions, of course I'm talking about Juniper. What fortuitous circumstances that she did in fact understand witch speak. O earthbound mortals who wish to remove the seal, gather proof of your desire to unite these lands again, place in the dragon's hold 4 offerings. From the earth's good graces, a ruby, a swiftly flowing fish of stone, a moth who gathers near the flame, a brown mushroom of the mines. Oh, that's it. Thanks to Juniper, I knew exactly what I had to offer in order to break the seal. With that in mind, you would have thought the mines is where I would have headed next. But no, I mooched around Mistria instead, and well, didn't really achieve much. I did figure out the artifact spots though. I think it's just best to move on to day 28. For us, that is the final day of spring. Can you believe it? Time just flies when you're having fun. I spent today prepping for what I hope will be a very profitable summer. You may have noticed that I've been keeping a very tight hold of my money this past season. Just call me Mr. Krabs, the way I be hoarding all me money. It was a terrible Mr. Krabs, I'm so sorry. The morning was taken up with clearing out debris around the crop field. The afternoon and evening were spent running around Mistria, gathering every single last little morsel of forage I could possibly find. I also got to donate a fiddlehead to the museum. And with that, the sun had set on a pretty successful first season in Mistria. Indeed, we are just getting started though, so buckle up for summer, people. Summer has hit the town of Mistria, and I'll be the first to say it, yeah, it doesn't look too different from spring. But that is the least of my concerns right now. Binglebong Farm is in dire need of some crops, so I circled into town where I purchased all the seeds I'd ever hoped to need. Back on the farm, I planted down a pear tree and a peach tree sapling, 1 corn seed, a watermelon, 1 chili, 1 cucumber, and 30 tomato seeds. I chose tomatoes to be my main crop of choice this season because they regrow every 3 days once they're fully grown, and sell for quite a bit of money. It took until the afternoon to get the field set up, but my god, was it looking beautiful, and we're ready for profits. Being a new season meant new forage, so back out into Mistria I went. There was a lot happening the next morning. I was making room in my house for a bigger bed, moving my main chest outside to be beside the mining chest, and watering all of my crops. Once that was taken care of, I decided a good use of my time should be spent fishing, and that is precisely what I did for the day. The only other noteworthy thing was giving Ulrich a pike for a quest, and accepting the Seeking Gossip quest from the quest board. The following day, I thought to follow the advice of Elsie and soak in the town gossip. On today's episode of keeping up with the townsfolk of Mistria. Juniper's critical potion ingredients have gone missing. Oh my gosh. She had to trade with Balor to restock her supply. Balor claims that Juniper ordered a dozen newts. How odd. He sourced the newts from Dell of all people. Dell insisted that the newts had to be saved from Juniper's cauldron of death. Okay, I feel like the three of them have gone around in a circle here. Elsie was very pleased to hear of this gossip. She also now has the ability to tell me gossip, which for me just lets me pick a person out of 3 and she'll tell me one of their liked or loved gifts. Still very useful. Day 32 began like all others, watering my crops and spending skill points. This time I got Museum Quality 1. Digging up uncommon artifacts will become more likely. Unpeatable, digging up peat, sod and clay will sometimes drop double the amount. Sunken Secrets, dive spots can now contain sunken artifacts. And Western Ruins Scholar, an extra dig spot will appear every day. Believe it or not, it was my first time digging here at the dig site. I got a shard mess. And no matter how hard you try, you can't refill the hole. I did, however, turn my attention to the general store upgrade, and I got to collecting wood. It took so long that it wasn't until the next day when I finally managed to snag 300 wood. Oh, and I should note, I cut down my peach tree when my brain was turned off. Yeah, it took me a while to realize, and when I did, I went to replace it, but then I completely forgot what fruit tree I'd cut down, so now I had 2 pear trees set up because I didn't know, and I had no idea. Oh, this will be fun in a few weeks' time when I realize, won't it? Look, it's not my brightest moment, but anyway, I dropped off the 300 wood to the donation box and got some more skill points. I got all of the cooking ones in order. Cooking dishes may return the ingredients used. Cook time for all dishes is reduced by 10 minutes. Cooking a dish may inject it with some more HP and stamina, and cooking dishes may drop from treasure chests in the mines. Before I knew it, we were already moving on to day 34. There was a field of ripe red tomatoes waiting for me outside this morning, and what a beautiful sight it was. I kept one for safekeeping for the museum. The rest I dumped into the shipping bin for those sweet juicy profits. Afterwards, I headed to the mines, but discovered something that hadn't quite clicked. Oh, so can I not pass without it? To keep going down, you need these things. Well done, Pox. Now that we're all on the same page, I remembered I had not only a ruby back home, but a lantern moth as well. No idea why I thought to keep that with me, but I'm glad I did. Unfortunately, I made no other offerings today. I did not find either a stone loach or an upper mines mushroom, but I did get the jump attack perk, and I think it's pretty clear to see I was excited. Having picked a chili and a corn, I found Celine on the beach and gave her a shadow flower for a quest, and dug up an ancient coin at the dig site before heading the mines again. I can't really progress with the general store quest without breaking past this seal, so it was back on the hunt for that fish and mushroom. Alas, it was another unsuccessful day. To make myself feel better about the progress being made in the mines, or lack thereof, I made and donated the copper bars and stone the general store upgrade required. I also delivered 10 wood and stone to Reese for a quest, and I donated some shards and an ancient lantern to the museum, which completed another set, might I add. I then purchased 2 more shards, since Balor was selling them, to give to Elin for a quest, and it wouldn't be a day in Mistria if I hadn't purchased more skills. I got 3 of the 4 ranching skills. Even though we don't have animals yet, it's probably a good idea to get ahead. It turns out the ranching perks got me clucky for animals who cluck themselves. I purchased the blueprints for my first small coop and barn from the carpenter's shop, and I plopped them both down on the farm. It took me a while to figure out how I was going to get this to work. On the way through to the mine, I donated a bunch of crops and forage I had been growing, which knocked off 2 more museum sets. I was just here to gather stone, not to find the last 2 items I needed to proceed. Don't be silly. I had a coop and barn that needed stone. Speaking of, by the end of the day, after a bit of wood gathering, I managed to get them both built, which meant on day 39, I was free to start purchasing my first animals for the farm. I was excited, to say the least. I'm gonna get 1 brown chicken. I'm gonna call one of my chickens Paula, and I'm gonna buy a white one who I'm gonna call Angel, and then I can get, oh my god, this is such a hard decision. I want them all, but I can't afford them all. Okay, I'll grab a brown cow. I'm gonna call this one Juniper, and then, oh, do I want a spotted or a black cow? I want a spotted something because I didn't get the spotted chicken, so I might get this. Koro, that's a great name. I'm just gonna keep it. Oh my god, look at him. Oh, I love them, I love them, I love them. They're so cute. Let's see the chickens. Oh my goodness me, look at them, look at them. Even big, strong, handsome men have dreams, and God, they were coming true. However, back to reality is where I was headed after this. I handed over some sap to Landon for a quest, collected renown rewards from the chest in town. I made brand spanking new copper watering cans and hose at the anvil, and popped down into the mines with my fingers crossed. I got about as unlucky as a person who's been struck by lightning 7 times. Work that one out and take a guess if I got either the fish or the mushroom. This morning's tomato harvest reminded me that money really can buy happiness. All thoughts of resentment were gone, just like that. And on top of that, I called my animals outside, and I watched them explore their new home for the first time. Except the fence I put around the outside was doing as good of a job as I did on my school exams back in high school. And to put it simply, it was a bloody disaster. I genuinely then spent all day trying to fix this. Oh, because they come out the side. Well, back to square one, I guess. This time I decided to run the fence all the way around the coop and barn. Now this is definitely much better. With the animal area perfected, I then ran around the farm slicing grass down for animal feed. The feeding frenzy perk allows grass to drop double the amount of grass feed and hay, and I wasn't gonna let that skill go to waste. What did I do for the rest of the day, you may ask? I gave hold to Tomato, I donated a bug, and I got the nice swing skill and I went to bed. I would like to take a second to recognize that my copper watering can waters 3 tiles. Okay, now that you've seen that, we can move on. My chicks were now chickens and producing eggs for me. Oh my god, we got a chicken egg. Oh, and I got some motherfucking toys for my animals to play with. I thought there'd be like a milk pail. Oh my god, the chickens are on the seesaw. I repeat, everyone stop what you're doing. The chickens are on the seesaw. Dare I say it, this might be better than Stardew. I don't know. After donating a couple of bugs and artifacts to the museum, I stumbled around Mistria to find Celine, because today was her birthday, and I had a flower to give her. I'd like to add that there have been many birthdays that have been and gone. I usually check the calendar every morning, but then I get distracted and I completely forget about them. Whoopsie. The rain certainly wasn't going to dampen my tomato harvest this morning. My animals were keeping out of the horrible weather, so I made sure to check in on them, and with that extra energy, I decided to try my luck in the mines again. 5th time's a charm, am I right? Stone Loach. Yes. Okay, that's one of them. Luck had befallen on my broad, strong shoulders. We now only needed one more offering. I also got to use my restoration spell for the first time. Nice. Gathering by the fact it's the next day, you can assume that we did not, in fact, find the mushroom. Before heading back, I found Josephine in the bathhouse to give her a birthday gift. I'm getting a little better at remembering. And with some copper bars, I made both an upgraded fishing rod and a copper bug net. Upgrading the bug net does nothing for me, it's purely aesthetic. And you know what, I think that's just as important. I quickly popped into the museum to donate a few things I found yesterday before searching for that goddamn mushroom. I'll save myself the trouble. No, we didn't get it. But I did finish another museum set. Waking up on day 45, I realized I'd forgotten to send my animals inside last night, and now they were outside feeling miserable in the rain, and I felt terrible. Leaving my pissed off animals behind me, I had a few things to do in town, namely collecting renown level rewards and checking the board, and crafting myself a copper ring at the anvil for extra defense. That's lovely, that is lovely, that. Please don't ask me why I resort to speaking like a British commoner, because I don't know either. Anywho, Balor got his ruby, completing another quest, and I went another day without finding the mushroom. At this point, you'd think it was some sort of rare artifact. My mood was lifted the following morning thanks to another tomato harvest. It's hard to be mad when I can hear the faint sound of money in my pockets. After calling my animals outside and vowing to remember to send them back inside later, I once again returned to the mines. Let's hope that prayer to Calderus last night was not in vain. Oh my god, there's one. Oh my god. Oh my god, I finally got one. If you do enough complaining, you get what you want. If we've learnt anything, complain and you shall receive. Oh, finally. Wow. Priestess. A dragon priestess. Holy shivers. A heart crystal. You feel a yearning to eat it. Iggy. More health! Yahoo! After what has felt like an eternity, we were finally able to pass level 20 and onto greener pastures. To celebrate, I purchased some more mining skills and scavenged the tide caverns for iron. I popped by the museum that night. I had quite a few donations to make. Ooh. Why does the statue want to speak to me? The water cell has been broken. Ooh. Summon rain. That's cool. Oh hey, it's my animals that I totally forgot to send inside last night. I bet this will be the last time I ever do this because I never ever get distracted. Over in town, I got back on the anvil to make quite a few things actually. 9 copper bars, 3 iron bars, a pair of copper greaves, and some copper leg plates. Hopefully this armor will give me some protection in the mines. Protection is important. It'll protect you from STDs. Scary, torturous dungeons, that is. I was welcome back to the mines with open arms, or a broken seal, if you will. I had some good fun today in the tide caverns, collecting all the goodies that I could fit in my backpack. I rounded up the day donating some tide caverns forage, crafting more iron ingots, and handing Holt a monster horn. Day 48 was a big day for Mistria. Now that I had access to iron, I was able to donate the iron bars for the general store upgrade. And after talking to Adeline, everything was ripe and ready to go for the big upgrade. Reese and I put our balls to the wall. I haven't seen two guys work that hard together since my high school days, when these two guys from my class would try and carry 10 chairs at a time to try and impress the girls. Don't ask me if I was one of them. And before we knew it, the general store was transformed. Like a butterfly from a chrysalis, the general store now had more seeds to buy. None that I needed, but more importantly, another inventory upgrade. What did I do for the rest of the day? Well, I dug up another ancient artifact, which I donated, of course, and I went fishing down at the beach. Not a bad way to wrap up another day. It left me with only one more ocean fish to catch for the museum. Or some more tomatoes. Oh, it makes me happy every single time. I should note my animals were also thriving. They were giving me milk, bull horns, and all the eggs that I could ask for. I left my animals behind to go to the museum. I wanted to see if I could rouse up some inspiration for what to do today. The summer pond fish set certainly needed work, and I had my task. Leave it up to Poxial to find something to get distracted with. On the east side of Mistria, I found this strange looking well. I gave it 100 tesserae and it popped out a teapot hat. Interesting. Anyway, I did some fishing and got some new fish, and killed some time foraging around the place later on. Let's go, new town rank, baby! Ruby! Ooh, that's cool. A letter in my mailbox from Adeline the next morning informed me that Mistria had never surpassed the Stone Town rank. Trust a big, strong, handsome man to get this quaint little town to the Ruby Town rank. And I gulped down my big hit of permanent stamina potion. I finally planted that second peach tree on the farm, by the way. You know, because I hacked the other one to bits for no real reason other than I turned my brain off. Once that was taken care of, I went back to fishing for the day. First it was in the pond, then it was in the river that ran around town for the rest of the day. I found a letter from Terithia in my mailbox on day 51. She was requesting I meet her and Adeline at the beach to discuss another bridge repair, and after I'd seen to my animals, that's exactly where I headed. Turns out the bridge I hopped across when I first arrived wasn't the only bridge that got totaled by the earthquakes. Terithia wanted a new bridge built so that we could access that small island. Thankfully, this project wouldn't be as material consuming as the general store. In fact, I already had enough stone and fiber to meet the quota. The wood, on the other hand, well, I spent all day collecting that. The next morning, I had another tomato harvest. I gave Nora a flower for her birthday. I handed Reese 2 bullhorns for a quest, and I got back to wood collecting. I didn't quite manage to hit the quota yesterday. That was a different story today, though. I donated all 300 pieces of wood to the donation box walks on the beach, and I located Tirithia in town to tell her of the good news. In no time at all, Reese and I had conjured up a wonderfully stable bridge that I'm sure will stand the test of time. On the island was some forage, a basin of water that gives me some stamina when I drink it, and more land capacity to catch ocean fish. I am not gonna lie, I'm smashing out these town upgrades. I began the following morning over at Hayden's. I wanted to expand my animal army, so I got another cow and chicken. I'm gonna call one Lulu. I'm gonna call this one Nigel. Having adopted Lulu and Nigel, I decided to take a dip in the warm ocean water, where I found a desolate island in the corner of the map. Nothing. Maybe it's so you can catch some more fish? There's nothing. Nothing over here. What's the point? What's the bloody point? Right, you are, Pox. What is the bloody point? I retired to the mines for the remainder of the day. My one goal was to gain another 5 levels, and that's just what I did. I then donated a bunch of forage, fish, and insects to the museum, popped down this sick-as Tide Caverns theme arch on my farm, and I got a good night's sleep. The usual rounds on the farm is how day 54 started. Water the crops, see to my animals, buy some perks from the dragon statue, all very normal things. Afterwards, I got myself a little pickaxe upgrade, all thanks to myself for crafting one at the anvil. I then put some time aside to go and visit Hayden's farm. Waiting for me there was Hayden himself, Adeline, and Raina. I think it's time for another town upgrade. This technically was another upgrade for the food reserves. I had to donate eggs and cheese so that Raina could cook up some extra food for the town. It's a good thing I made some time earlier in the season to start raising animals. Thanks, past Poxial. You're welcome, future Poxial. Anywho, while I waited for my animals to do their thing, I hit up the mines again to get another elevator level and pillage for any goodies I could get my grubby little hands on. The final tomato harvest took place today, just in time before the change in seasons, and as you can see, they've been filling my pockets with that wonderful cash money. The Saturday markets were on today, providing a perfect opportunity to give Valen a birdhouse I crafted for a quest. I was then tossing up for a while what tool would be most favorable for an iron upgrade. I came to the conclusion it would be the watering can, since I hadn't come across any form of sprinkler yet. Not to mention I crafted an iron sword too, which will be very handy in the mines. But the mine is not where I headed next. Instead, I thought it best to wander the farm today, getting it ready for fall. I started to change the crop field layout, and I made a cute little stone path to the Tide Cavern arch. But before I knew it, I was already waking up on the final day of summer already. Elsie popped by the farm this morning to tell me about the Shooting Star Festival that was happening tonight at the summit. I kept that in mind while I continued my efforts on the farm today. I spent the majority of the day setting up the crop fields, just right for the new season, and ended up with 2 big fields that will give me loads of room for crop expansion. And just like that, I found myself up on the summit that night watching the shooting stars fly past. It's been a pretty big summer season, and I'm sure we've still got loads in store for us. So let's just keep trucking along, shall we? Welcome to my favorite season of all time. No matter what game I'm in, I always have a soft spot for the fall season. The first day went about as you'd expect. Clearing last season's crops, clearing debris, prepping the crop fields, buying a bunch of crop seeds from the general store, and planting them down back on the farm. You'll notice I'm planting them in sections of 9. That's because my watering can now water in a 3x3 square. So not only is it aesthetic, it's practical too. I said goodbye to most of my summer savings purchasing cranberries. They will be my main crop of choice for the season as they sell for lots and regrow often. By the mid-afternoon, my crop fields were looking the healthiest they've ever looked, and I should say that my animals now have a chance to drop shiny beads. I have no idea where they come from nor what I do with them, but they look cool, and I have no doubt that the comments will provide me with that knowledge. The rain was accompanied by some thunder and lightning the next day, but you know what? I didn't mind, because all of my crops were watered for me. I put that extra energy to use scouting Mistria for the new forage that had popped up. It was a different story by the time day 59 came around. I was back to watering crops. I would be open to a sprinkler or a spell that waters my crops, just, putting that out there. For a couple of days, I just fished the days away. Unfortunately, the fall fish weren't going to swim their way to the museum. I had to take them there forcefully, where they were all going to be very well taken care of. It was a big day for all you crop lovers out there. I harvested my sweet potatoes and celosia flowers from the field of crops this morning. You may also notice I now have a chance to receive seeds relative to the crops that I water. Pretty nifty, right? I popped by the museum to donate the sweet potato and celosia flower I kept before turning in count 'em, 2 quests to Juniper. I also had a quest to get some blackberries for Elsie, but someone was too trigger happy the other day when he was gathering forage and there was none around. So I went to bed. I forgot to put my cows inside, I'm so sorry. Again, I'm so bad for that. Convinced that my animals might reenact George Orwell's Animal Farm because of how terrible of an owner I am, I got to harvest my first lot of cranberries. Look, can't always be perfect, I guess. I had enough money this morning to afford 9 more cranberry seeds. I'm gonna slowly replace the crops that don't regrow with cranberries. Oh, and I got distracted by a snail in town. Ooh, there's like a snail over here. Wait, how do I get up there? I definitely haven't donated that snail before. I hate to break it to you all, but I did not catch the snail. I'll be reporting this to the dev team though through a strongly worded passive-aggressive email. Anyway, I gave March some monster shells for a quest and Elsie those berries I couldn't find yesterday. I then passed by the museum to donate a couple of things before getting very lucky finding a freshwater oyster. Wow, it's like the game heard me. I needed to give one to Maple, yes, for a quest. To wrap up the day, I purchased the last 2 second-tier ranching skills. The rain was back by day 63, but on the other hand, more crops were ready to be picked. I gathered broccoli, and I'll personally give you $20 if you can pronounce this flower's name. Here's my attempt at it. Chrysanthemum. I decided to spend the day out of the rain back in the mines. It had been a while, and any progress down here is good progress. Big things were happening the next day on Bingle Bong Farm. I was financially stable enough to plant 27 more cranberry seeds. I was no longer financially stable, but at least I had more cranberries. After purchasing more skill points from the Caldera statue, I took all of my animal produce into town. That's right, having turned my milk into cheese at the mill, I met the quota needed to finally wrap up the food reserves quest. Raina whipped up culinary grandeur with the ingredients I provided. And that was another town upgrade done and dusted. Oh, and my animals can wear hats. Oh my god, Jennifer's got a little cheese hat on. That's so cute. That's so freaking cute. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Clearly, I needed to cool off. This was just too exciting, so I fished away the rest of the night. I did the same the following day, despite the rain. I was after a salmon and a perch. I hadn't found either all day, and I was starting to complain, which is the game's cue to give me exactly what I need. Wow, this game really listens to me. As soon as I complain and or want something, it just gives it to me. Maybe I should complain more. Like I always say, complain and you shall receive. Josephine was very thankful for the salmon, as she should be. I complained very hard for that. The following morning, I was able to plant down another 27 cranberries, which is always a welcome addition to the farm, especially when it makes me more money. Close by at Hayden's farm, I met with him, Adeline, and Hayden's prize chicken Henrietta. It was time for another town upgrade. This time we would be upgrading Hayden's coop and barn. I was a bit salty at first, why was it not my coop and barn? But then he explained that he could raise a larger amount of animals, which I could then adopt. So yes, I said yes to helping. The stone I already had thanks to the mine expeditions. I could say the same for the 8 iron bars, big thank you to the mines yet again. The wood, however, as per usual, was the only thing letting us down. farm. I had to spend a couple of days chopping trees down around Mistria to gather all 400 pieces of wood, not to mention I got a very good farming perk to finish the night, Superb Sower. I can charge seeds and spread them across a wider area. Day 68 consisted of crop harvesting, crop watering, cranberry seed sowing, animal caring, donating wood for Hayden's upgrade, and giving Raina a birthday gift. Oh, that was pretty easy. Maybe I should narrate every day like that. It's funny number day. I commemorated such an occasion by testing whether I can carry my dog off the farm. I can. After shipping off some crops that had grown this morning, I found Elsie in town to give her an orange. You better believe it, for a quest. I then did a lap of the map, which involved digging up some artifact spots. Then I reported back to Adeline about all of the donations I'd made for Hayden's farm upgrades. We all gathered on the farm where Landon retired from retirement, I guess, to help Reese and I. Before we knew it, Hayden's brand spanking new coop and barn were done, and the option to adopt ducks, horses, rabbits, and sheep were now available for my perusal. The day wrapped up with purchasing another skill. This one allows me to find cooked meals from harvesting crops. Don't ask me how that works, and fishing down at the beach. Hayden popped by the farm the next morning. That wind that had blown through last night had apparently sent his new weather vane flying, and he needed a big, strong, handsome man like myself to go and find it. Before I could though, today was Holt's birthday. It was unlike me to remember it was his birthday in the first place. Nonetheless, I gave him a wild berry scone, which went down a treat. The weather vane wasn't too much of a hassle to find. It was in the Narrows area just across the river, and I handed it back to Hayden, who I found down on the beach having a gas bag with Dorothea. And after all of that, I found some wild garlic to give to Raina, finishing a quest I'd picked up earlier. I can point out a new perk I'd picked up from the other day in action. I got a cooked dish from harvesting my cranberries this morning. It's an odd perk, but it's a useful one at that. Watering crops takes a lot of energy, so to have meals drop to get that energy back is actually quite a win. Today was a day I reserved for the mines. I picked up some combat skills from the statue and got to work. I wasted no time after acquiring the next tablet to interrupt Juniper's meal at the tavern to show her. She was having an unusually hard time deciphering the Earth tablet, so we had to call in a favor from Mistria's resident nature expert, Celine. With her help, Juniper was able to deduce the tablet's demands: a fish whose arrow flies true, a jewel the color of the blue sea, a dulse of jade, and the hunter in the coral. To think the tablet's demands would be the only thing on my mind the next day is a mistake, because it was Dozie's birthday today. So I blessed his special day with a little dog treat I had made at the mill. I also got Juniper a fog orchid to say thank you for yesterday, and because she needed it for a quest and I'm super close to another town rank up, so any renown I could get right now would be really good. Over at the Sleepy Dragon Inn, I walked into a discussion between Adeline and the owners Josephine and Hemlock. Adeline was trying her best to convince the two that the inn should be the next town upgrade, but the lack of staff and extra workload was putting them in a tough spot, until Rena appeared with a plan to put all doubts to rest. Her energy and goals had Josephine and Hemlock convinced. The inn was to be the next upgrade, and I would need a lot of materials. And what better time to get that started than right now? Luckily, the peat I'd been collecting in my chest at home, that one was already ticked off. The 25 glass I bought from Landon and Reese's carpenter shop. Not a bad start. I did get a little distracted, but it was for a good reason. Oh my god, they're playing with the beach ball. The cows are playing with the beach ball. It's so cute. Look at them. Oh my god, look at them, they're so cute. Finding ourselves back on track after this, I crafted myself an iron axe, an iron fishing rod, and iron leg plates at the anvil. My efforts continued onwards. For the next couple of days, I had to gather 600 pieces of wood, and so tree after tree after tree was chopped down, all in the name of improving the town of Mistria. I will note that I dug up the last ancient artifact from the dig site on day 74, completing another museum set, and I got a new town rank. Yippee! It was on day 75 that I decided to buy the remaining 100 wood. Ironically, I probably could have bought all 600 pieces, considering the amount of money I've earned from selling cranberries. On the other hand, I wouldn't have had the satisfaction of doing it myself. Either way, I was able to donate all the wood to a good cause. All that was left was the stone and silver. Silver was a material I could only obtain by breaking past the earth seal, so it was no surprise that the mines is where I went to spend my time. As I was returning home that evening, Calderus summoned me to a statue as I entered the farm. With another seal broken, he was able to grant me another spell. This one allows me to instantly grow crops within a 3x3 square. Not only that, but I got a whole new mana orb, bringing my total to 3. Calderus mentioned the priestess that I kept bumping into, saying the gate between the dragon and the human realm was once cared for by the dragon priestess. Dragons once brought magic to this land through that gate eons ago, and why it was closed, well, he can't remember. Well, it looks like we're just gonna have to keep breaking open more seals to find out then, won't we? But now though, it was day 78, and on day 78 we had terrible weather, which sounds about right because I left my animals outside again, and they were very mad at me. After purchasing some blacksmithing skills, I caught Terithia on her way into town to give her a birthday gift. Look at me remembering. Today was another day spent in the mines. As you're all well aware, I did need the silver, so it was a task worth doing. More cranberries were ready for harvest this morning. The more perceptive of you may have noticed the large sum of money I've accumulated. Are you jealous? Jealous of my wealth? We should be. I only point that out because, well, I had a bit of a ditzy moment afterwards. Yes, I've got 8. I think we need 5 for the inn. So that's right, 3 left over. Not bad. We'll just have to go get more for more tools and stuff, but that's all good. Oh, I lied, we need 10. Ah, well, I had enough stone, I guess, so that's a win. Back to the mines it is then. I had a bit of an unusual start to day 80. After concluding my usual morning farm chores, I ran into a fairy bee bug. It turns out this was one of the 5 legendary bugs. A, I now know that there are such bugs with legendary status. B, I can't believe there are 4 more to find. However, I am certainly not complaining about finding one of them. With the silver I had acquired yesterday, I was able to upgrade my first tool to silver. That, of course, being my pickaxe, which left me with 2 silver bars, the perfect amount needed to finish donating materials to the inn upgrade. Unfortunately, Reese, myself, and Landon couldn't take on this monumental task ourselves. Luckily, the whole town came to our rescue as we all banded together and polished up the old building. Not only did the outside get a revamp, but so did the inside. A brand new bar, cushions on the chairs, a big new soup pot. The hub of Mistria was looking state of the the art. And with that, I ticked off another town upgrade. For the next few days, I decided to stick primarily to the farm. Being so close to the winter season, I wanted to make quality of life upgrades to the farm, along with some expansions as well. So I made myself more of a chest area, very reminiscent of my Stardew Hub areas if you're familiar. In addition to the chest area, I placed down more stone paths for a bit of pizzazz. I then worked on my new and improved animal area. A medium coop and barn had become available to me, so I cleared out room and made a second area for even more farm animals. With a path down the side and around the bottom, I welcomed 2 new buildings to the farm, which I should note the coops and barns I named. They are named Dingleton, Dongleton, Humbleton, and Humbleton, which I just think is very on brand. Not to mention, I also extended the stone path to Calderus's statue, because even stone dragon statues that can communicate with you also deserve some pizzazz. By the time I was adding new animals, some more cows, chickens, horses, rabbits, sheep, and ducks, it was the final day of fall. How amazing was it that I could home some wonderful animals just before the cold season encroaches on Mistria. I spent a lot of money today on animal hats, not that I could make them wear them just yet, but when they're grown, you best believe I'll be making every single animal I own wear a hat. The final piece of decor was ornamental hay bales, the perfect finishing touch. I'm very happy with the fall season I had. I'm sad to see it go by so quickly because it is my favorite season, but folks, we only have 16 days left, so let's make the most of them. A white blanket of snow had descended on the wonderful town of Mistria by day 85. Last season's crops had died off, and my first thought was, I wonder if there are any crops to grow this season. Well, I love to be the bearer of great news because there is. Not as many as seasons gone by, but still. I was planting them all down on the farm when I accidentally figured something out. Whoa, wait, what? Oh my god, I can do it for as many as I want. Oh my god, that's epic. Epic indeed, my friend. I thought it was limited to 3 spaces, but I can chuck seeds as freely as I like, so long as I have the right amount and no more than a 6x6 area. You'll notice my crop of choice this season are snow peas, for reasons very similar to why I chose cranberries and tomatoes in the fall and summer. To finish off the day, I purchased the sickle sword perk, allowing me to harvest crops with my sword, and the perfect pollinators perk. Legendary bugs will have a higher chance of appearing. Almost like it was routine at this point, the second day of a new season was reserved for foraging, and that's exactly what I did. After a very successful foraging day yesterday, I woke up on day 87 to a light snowfall. To my delight, the snowfall actually watered my crops. Stardew Valley, please take note of this right now. New forage wasn't the only change in Mistria, new fish were out and about too. In fact, for a couple of days, I fished my days away. The rest of day 87 in the ocean and day 88 in the rivers. I will say, I managed to donate a lot of new fishies to the museum. Waking up the next morning, I got to harvest my first lot of winter crops and flowers, some beets and some frost lilies. On my way past Hayden's farm that morning, I dug up an artifact spot, and to my surprise, I dug up an elder feather pendant. Maybe Hayden lost it a while ago? Well, if he did, it's the museum's, I'm sorry to say. I was on my way to the mines today. This big, strong, handsome man needed a break from fishing and foraging to go and slay some monsters and collect silver. A fun bonus for me was I made it down another 5 levels. The permanent energy I've gained thus far from all of the town ranks and the cooked food I have make it so much easier down here. I started day 90 hammering away on the anvil. I was yearning for a silver watering can. This will definitely help with crop moistening. Moistening? Why did I have to use that word? This is pissing me off watching this footage back, but my snow peas are ready for harvest and I just haven't noticed. I feel like I'm watching that one scene from Interstellar. Don't leave, Merv! Harvest the crops, Pox! My animals are thriving, by the way, in case you were wondering. I haven't mentioned them in a while, but rest assured I look after them every single morning. You can put down the phone, stop dialing Peter. I actually just spent today collecting feed for my animals. So let's trot along to the next one. Adeline swung past the farm this morning to notify me of the upcoming animal festival. The main event is Best Small and Large Animal in Show. While I was deliberating on how anyone is going to beat Hayden, I collected more winter crops from my fields. Seriously, who could beat Hayden at this? It's like his whole thing, it's his whole personality. Also, today was another day where I didn't realize my snow peas were ready. You piss me off sometimes, Pox, you really do. At least I can say I finally blessed all of my animals with their very own hat. Oh, it's too cute for me to stay mad at myself. I went pond fishing for the rest of the day. That is also important information, I guess. By day 92, I was buttering up the competition. I gave Hayden a grilled cheese sandwich for his birthday. How that would give me the upper hand at the animal festival, I didn't quite know, but I wasn't working with much, okay? At least today I finally realized my peas were ready for harvest. I would have gone nuts if I'd left it any longer. Oh my god, these have been ready to harvest for so long and I didn't even realize. Dude, I'm such a silly goofus doofus. Hey man, you said it. After donating one to the museum, I got all of the tier 2 wood crafting skills before hitting up the mines yet again. Believe it or not, I managed to sneak down another 5 levels, putting me in front of yet another seal. On day 93, my final crop, daikon radishes, were ready to harvest. I had just enough moolah to fill out both fields completely with snow peas, and I handed the fire tablet over to Juniper to see what was required of me to break the seal. She seemed to be stuck on the 4th item, not because she couldn't understand it, but because of how unusual it was. I needed a sealing scroll, and the one person that was able to find such a rare and dangerous item was our good friend Balor. He said he would be in touch if he happened to find a seller, though in the meantime I went back down the elevator. It was very fortuitous that I already had 2 of the 4 items, and back on the farm I tried out the growth spell, because why the hell not, you know? The 10th of winter was the day of the animal festival. I'll be honest, my confidence was about as high as I am, and I'm 5'5", so take that as you will, and be nice. I entered my animals, Paula the chicken for the small animal category, and Juniper the cow for the large animal category. The results were read out shortly after this. I'm content to say that I got 3rd in both categories, taking home the bronze. A common theme for me this year when it comes to competitions. Hayden, to no one's surprise, won both of them. I did get to stand in a cardboard cutout though, and suddenly who won and who came 3rd started to matter less and less. My farmhouse was looking very animal themed, thanks to my prizes. Balor had a new lead with the sealing scroll debacle by day 95. I needed to get him 10 silver ingots, 10 rubies, 10 sapphires, and 10 emeralds. That was the payment we needed to make for just one scroll. What's crazy is I actually had all of that sitting in my chest at home. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it would be. While we waited for Balor to make the trade, I delved into the mines again in hopes of finding the other item I needed, the faceted rock gem artifact. I'll cut it short, I didn't get it, but I completed 2 more museum sets. On day 96, Balor paid a special visit to the farm. The deal was done, and I had in my hands the inexplicable sealing scroll. Scary stuff. All I needed now was the artifact. Now was no time for distractions, so I got to work. Oh, let's go, baby. That's the one I need. Let's go. The priestess appeared just like she had done many a time before. However, instead of insisting me onwards, she instead proclaimed for me to flee before it was too late. Before I knew it, the sealing scroll had stopped me in my tracks. It sapped me of my stamina and health, and with no one around to hear me, I thought it was the end. All of a sudden, the dragon Calderus came to my rescue. In a last-minute attempt to save me, he bestowed upon me the Dragon's Breath spell. He did so by relinquishing his power he held as a dragon, turning into a human form. Calderus, now as a human, destroyed the sealing scroll, and I was free. He requested I go and visit him deep in the woods when I had the chance. He was weak and needed rest, and then he was gone. Well, now that was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? But God, check out this new spell I got. God damn! The deep woods wasn't a huge area. There was a forest graveyard to the left, a lake in the middle, and to the right, an old temple where Calderus now resides. He explained to me that breaking seals and offering essence at his shrines will help him recover, so I vowed to do so. I mean, hey, it's the least I can do. On day 97, I used my new Dragon's Breath spell on a weakened doorway down on the beach. Inside was a chest that contained a water sprite statue. Holy Moses, it's some type of sprinkler. It only took me 97 days, but we have a sprinkler. These sprite statues will water crops, however they need to be charged by essence stones. They'll keep them charged for a certain amount of days depending on the size of the essence stone. If I ever come back for another 100 days, I'll be sure to get these bad boys set up. For now, I headed back to the deep woods to get the rest of the forage I didn't find yesterday. I'm happy to say this ticked off another museum set. Day 98 began with a wonderful snow pea harvest. I can just smell the profits these bad boys are gonna give me. It was my one and only task today to find the last winter forage, and even though it took me a while, I found it up by the manor. Lots of flowers, lots of berries. I can harvest these. Oh my god, I was right. I can't believe it, I'm never right. Well, this time I was, and that ticked off the Winter Forage Museum set. Oh, and guess what? Oh, and I got a new town rank. Let's go. Town rank Sapphire. It was all coming together before the day 100 mark. Today, however, was day 99. I really just spent the day mooching around, doing chores on the farm, prancing around Mistria, and soaking it all in before we had to say goodbye. And before we knew it, we were already here on day 100. It is tradition in all of my 100 days videos to find some sort of spa to soak in on the final day. Luckily, I was able to use the bathhouse to do so. My appointment did not last long, however it was more of a quick in and out kind of deal, so I decided to spend my final day on the summit, overlooking Mistria in all of its glory. When I look back over the last 100 days, I am reminded of how far we've come. I was just a big, strong, handsome, and not to mention humble man, brought into the town to help fix it up. But in that time, I've made so many friends, met so many new people, repaired many parts of the town, and brought Mistria from the bottom of the barrel to Sapphire status. This game has been an absolute blast. It's like the good parts of Stardew Valley mixed with so many other cozy games. I would seriously recommend giving this game a chance. At the time of this recording, it's actually only in early access, so who knows where the developers will take this game because it is looking fantastic already. I just want to say thank you for joining me on this journey through the fields of Mistria, and hey, maybe I'll be back for another 100 days soon. There you have it, folks. That is 100 days of Fields of Mistria done and dusted. Like I said, I had so much fun playing this game. It is certainly one of my favorite cozy light games that I've played. I don't plan on doing another 100 days, but that being said, if you did enjoy and you do want to see me play another 100 days, then give the video a like and subscribe to the channel just to let me know. You know, if there's enough want for it, I'll do it. If you are still here, I do appreciate you sticking around to the end. And I guess there's not much else to say except you're all wonderful people, so have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.